A recent data shows that to raise a child from from a young age up to adulthood cost about $300,000 in America and most of Western countries. That is beside uh, beside childcare, education, healthcare, clean water, and living. So it's really expensive to raise a child in America. That's why the government strictly uh, follows the rules of the citizens to have only two kids. I think, if I can remember, most of Western countries, especially in America, you are only allowed to have two children in a household. So it's expensive to raise one child, and considering you have two children, that is 600,000 US dollars. So leave alone the insurance, the health insurance, and your own lifestyle as a couple, because you also have your own health insurance, you and your wife, and you have car insurance and house insurance and all that. All those are financial burden, financial crisis. That's why you see most of American citizens are living in isolation, and they are constantly in debt. See, your child need quality education and also optimum health for them to grow into a strong adult and into an independent adult. So let's look into after they are grown. The rule in America states that once once a kid is once a kid turns 18, they are they are supposed to move out of their family's house. They are supposed to be independent by that age. So most of the kids are not fully developed into a man, and they just get kicked out at 18, which is really uh, hard. I mean, it is a heartache to a African mother if they hear that what's happening in America. It's heartbreaking. So you may find a kid is not yet developed into a man. Even the thinking skill is still low, despite what they're teaching them at its school. At school, yeah. So when you are moving out of your family's house, you go out. They are things that you've been restricted from doing when you are staying with your parents, like don't do bad things, don't do drugs, don't take alcohol. So when you were 17 and below, you were still under your parents' guidance, and they were helping you to stay guided. But when you got freedom at 18, you moved out, and now you thought now you're a man, you are already a grown-ass man. You can do whatever you want. You can now abuse drugs. I know many of American adults who just turned 18, moved out of their parents' house. They started abusing drugs. They started moving with random female girlfriends. They started overdoing bad habits. So this is why a lot of American families are broken today. you cannot blame a broken family because it started from the root. When the root is damaged, what do you expect the stem of the tree would do? So that's the story of the American people and how things are terrible in America. Let's compare that to African families and how children are raised in Africa. In Africa, we don't we don't count uh, we don't see children as financial burden. We don't see children as an obstacle to to a happy lifestyle. We see children in Africa as blessings. We see children as another helping hand in the community. I mean, so children are seen as blessings. Children are seen as source of community work system, because they are needed to work together for their own good. So here in Africa, we don't have rules that says you need to have 2 kids, 3 kids. In Africa, you are allowed to have as much children as you want. As much children as you want. Some families usually have 20 kids, 20 children in the household. Some crazy families can go up to 50 to 100 and something children in one house. Not considering the economy being harsh on the African families. Yet African families are still happy. They still take their kids to school, get quality education, get healthy. I mean, they live a healthy lifestyle here, despite the number of children we have in the household. People are just happy, and it's not that fake happiness the American people try to, put on their faces. This is genuine love and happiness we show in African cultures. So you find that finance is not actually the problem in most of African countries, but most of African families are productive and they like giving birth a lot of times. I know it's crazy if you are from the Western countries, but that's what actually happens in Africa. And food is cooked in large quantity to feed the whole family. And when the crisis strikes us, because most of African families, they don't think about tomorrow, like how the American system is. The system of investment and all that. Mostly we invest in cows, but we never invest in money. We invest in cows and we invest in community. We invest in real people. That's why when we go broke, we have families, we have aunties and uncles who come for us, who come for our safety, who come for our rescue. It's really hard in America for you to be supported by your uncle, man. That's a big miracle. So in Africa, hyper independence. Is it hyper independence? There is much dependence, not independence, but dependency. There is so much dependency in African communities. We depend on uncles and aunties. Sometimes you can move to stay with your auntie, with your uncle, and they can still educate you with their children together. It's not a problem to them. You see the love, and you in the Western countries, you are kicked out at 18, while in Africa, you are allowed to stay with your parents for a lifetime. A grown-ass man of 30 years old is still staying with the mother and the father at home and still being fed by the parents. Crazy, right? I know you may think it's crazy, but it's not crazy. That's why you find a lot of African youth are jobless because there are not a lot of jobs in Africa here. Job opportunities is limited. And that's why you see a lot of people are poor in Africa, because the dependence is too much. I mean, where do I get the cash to educate the son of my uncle and my children at the same time? That's a burden. So anyways, that is it. That's how the thing goes, and that's how the African American families are. And whether the American system is good or the African system is good, at the end of the day, we are just living. Our lives and educate our children. And the most important thing is to be happy. That's it. Thank you for reaching this far. Thank you for watching my video. I'm really happy for that. And peace. See you in the next video.